Everyone, Steve here for Who Took My Dice Miniature Wargaming. Welcome back. This is episode 3 of Warriors of the Grim Dark, and as I promised at the end of the last episode, this one is going to be about a Xenos race, specifically the Eldar, even more specifically the Shadow Specters Aspect Warriors. Not one you see very often. They were introduced in a Forge rule book. So, without further ado, let's get to it. All right. So, as the title said, the Shadow Specters. What is a Shadow Specter? Well, to fully understand that, you have to go back to the fall of the Eldar. Going back to a planet called Mimira. I hope I said that right. It was a planet on the very edges of Eldar space, and for the most part was able to avoid the craziness that was affecting the rest of the race before the fall. But unfortunately, even it got hit. But a lot of the Farseers, like many others, saw what was coming and began building craft worlds. By the time they were done, though, and the fall came, that psychic scream ripped through space-time, Slaneesh's birth, wiping out most of the Eldar. They were only able to get off their planet, escape, with about half their entire population. And it didn't get any better for them. Next thing, they fell to orcs and all the other weird alien races out there. And basically were on their own, thought that this one craft world was all that was left. They had no way of knowing that other craft worlds had escaped. They were so far away to begin with. At the same time, there was a Phoenix Lord named Irilith, called the Shade of Twilight, who was the Phoenix Lord of the Shadow Specters. And he had visions before the fall of this planet that was going to be wiped out by this new young race that was coming up. And he began looking for it. And he couldn't find it, and he traveled from craft world to craft world, Exodite world to Exodite world, looking for it. And every time he went, he would set up a shrine for his Shadow Specters. And eventually, traveling through the webway, he came to a part that had been cracked, destroyed, wrecked by the fall, and he found a greater demon, Slaneesh, had made his way through, and he was bringing more of his warriors, his demons with him. And so he fought. They fought this massive battle, the two of them. It raged for who knows how long. In the end, Irilith was successful in defeating him. He defeated it, but it had made him tired and exhausted him. He slept. And during this sleep, he had another vision, and he found out where this place was. And he finally made his way there, and the inhabitants were shocked, amazed, joyful that, he brought news that they weren't the last, but they were still very far alone. And he began helping them learn the techniques to survive, to fight the orcs, to defeat them, all the other enemies, the aliens and demons that were coming after them. Whether it was through his guile, his own skills as this Phoenix Lord. But he still had visions of this destruction, and so he decided to take matters into his own hands and gather up all the warriors he could from this planet, from the craft world, from Mimira, and set out. And his visions began to change. He realized he was saving the craft world, but it meant most likely his own demise. He went to fight him, this Imperium of man, whatever that was to them. They didn't know at this point. And he went and never returned. And so the Farseers and Autarchs waited and waited for him to come back. Maybe at one point he would return. And he never did. And because of his absence, a lot of his other shrines, the warriors and exarchs were killed. There was no one left to replace them. They became haunted, empty buildings that were avoided, thought to be cursed by the inhabitants of the craft worlds. So jump ahead to the 41st millennium, and one of the Farseers has had a vision. They figured out, they know where he has fallen. It's an ice world that is now owned by the Imperium. And at the same time, they're rediscovered by Aliatok, another craft world. And this is a moment of great hope for all of them. Mymirda, I hope I'm saying that right, I don't know, discovers that they truly aren't alone. They found more Eldar, and Aliatok has found a craft world that has a long forgotten, thought completely wiped out aspect warrior in the Shadow Specters. They gather their strength together along with some Eldar Corsairs, basically Eldar pirates. They're not good, they're not bad, they're just pirates, right? They fight each other, they'll fight Dark Eldar, man, Orc, everything. And so they attack this Imperial world, and that brings in the Cadians, the Elysian drop troops, Titan legions, and the great company of Bran Redmaw from the Space Wolves. Probably the most dangerous of all the forces. And yes, Space Wolves are more dangerous than Titans any day of the week. There's guys that'll back me up on that. It's true. I don't care what anybody says. And in the end, the Imperium feels that it's won because it does drive the Eldar off. But the Eldar got what they wanted. They've rediscovered Aerolith. They've brought him back, and they managed to escape. And now there's a new Phoenix Lord. He's back. His shrines will begin rebuilding, and the Eldar have another hope because they found this plan. If this craft world has something so far lost to everybody else, there's hope that maybe other craft worlds will have lost shrines or lost weapons, other ways that the Eldar can start rebuilding their empire and sort of regain everything they lost 10,000 years before. Understand how a Phoenix Lord can come back. There's something else we have to look at, because for most other races, when a hero's dead, that's it. If a great hero goes down, there's really no way he's coming back. The Eldar are different. So the Eldar have what's called a Spirit Stone. It was one of their ways that they were able to survive dying, so their souls don't get sucked into the warp. If an Elder were to die with no Spirit Stone, his soul would be sucked in the warp, and Slaanesh would eat it. It'd be tasty little gribbles for him. Nom nom nom. Spirit Stones allow that soul to be trapped in the stone, and it's hopefully found by other members of the Eldar and taken to a craft world and put into the spirit matrix there. I can't remember the name for it right now. And the Infinity Circuit. That's it. On a craft world. Great warriors would probably end up being placed inside of Wraith constructs like Wraith Guard, Wraith Lords, Wraith Knights, in order to keep fighting the fight that continues even after death for most Eldar. Phoenix Lords are different. A Phoenix Lord, most likely when it dies, it's on its own. The rest of its army's been wiped out and it's been killed. But they're effectively immortal. If the body is found, they take the soul of whoever finds them. Basically, it's a sacrifice, right? The perfect example of this was a book called The Path of the Warrior. It was part of a trilogy about just kind of showing what Eldar life was like. And there was this one young Eldar who was an artisan, was building Wraithbone constructs with his, because they're all innately psychic, right? But he was angry. Eventually became a striking scorpion and lost his way on that path, became an Exarch. And he's actually in the story fighting on his craft world. It's been invaded by the Imperium, including a force of Astartes. You don't know really who. He ends up fighting back to back with Caradhras. And they're kicking a lot of butt. They're wiping people out left, right, and center. Until Caradhras is attacked by a dreadnought and gutted. And this warrior is wounded. As he's lying there, he reaches over to touch Caradhras' armor, and the minute he does, the perspective instantly changes. Caradhras is back up, the wound in his armor and him is healing, and he looks down at this dead Exarch with absolutely no recognition. Phoenix Lords, that what's in soul is made up of an entire collective of all the people who have been that Phoenix Lord, but the primary entity that takes control is the original Phoenix Lord. So he looks down, no recognition of the body, and just goes on fighting. So that's what happened with Irilith when he was brought back. So yeah, they're functionally immortal until obviously they have their last battle where they'll all die one last time. So now let's get to what a Shadow Specter is. Shadow Specters are really cool. They were Irilith when he was trained by Azerman. Everybody took on an aspect of Caleb and Chicane, and for him it was battle, fighting the war beyond death. And this was seen in them fighting alongside the Wraith constructs a lot. But it also came down to what they looked like. They dressed like ghosts. They all have jetpacks, so they're constantly moving. They're never on foot. They're floating all the time. Some of their gear, excuse me, is almost sentient. They have pre-sentient robes. These robes kind of move and flow on their own. They're part of the whole uniform, and they also have the hollow fields. Now these hollow fields aren't like the ones that the Harlequins have that make a noise of color and images and double images and faded and blurs and all that kind of mask a Harlequin's movement, make it very hard. These ones actually made the Shadow Specter sort of become like a ghost, like one of like the ghosts you see in some pictures that people have made or have caught, where it's just a flow of light and mist. And they're like this the whole time. They flow around the battlefield, only kind of rematerializing enough to fire their weapons and then disappear again. And that's how they fight their wars. They're very much like they're ghost-like figures, right? They use lots of pale whites and grays and silvers and all that, and yeah, they just kind of appear just like that, just like shadows and specters moving around the battlefield, sowing destruction and confusion in their enemies' their battle lines. They're also been designed to be sort of the mid-range tank hunter for an Eldar army. They all have prism rifles, which is much like the prism cannons on the big Eldar tanks there, and they can do much the same thing: fire their weapons together. It extends the range of the weapons, and it does far more damage. So yeah, they're very cool. They kind of fit this niche where it's not like the fire dragons. They're loud and in your face and flames and meltings everywhere. These guys are silent killers, just like death. They stalk the battlefield and just strike and then disappear. There's really no getting around them, right? Stat-wise, they are much like other aspect warriors. Weapon skill with Steel 4, standard strength and toughness for an Eldar, 1 wound, higher initiative. The Exarch has even higher initiative, extra attacks, extra leadership. Like I said, they have the prism rifle, they have jetpacks. Their hollow fields just give them a 5+ invulnerable save, which actually increases to a 4+ that are against attacks that are 12 inches away. So the closer you get, the less it protects them. The farther away, you're going to have a tough time taking these guys down. They have access to things like prism blasters, or just a more powerful form. The Exarch has 2 very special rules, Cynosure and Withdraw. Basically, Cynosure, they get to reroll when they're firing with Ghost Light, which is another rule where they put all their weapons together one beam and just, right? And Withdraw, obviously they basically have hit and run. They get to come in, and which is perfect for them because these guys are definitely not close combat specialists in any way, shape, or form. So they get charged, they can run away. They can get out of there. They don't have to worry about getting ripped apart in close combat. They also have things like haywire launchers in case they need to, try and take out vehicles close range, which can happen sometimes, especially if they have to fight a dreadnought or some such thing. And if we go to Irilith, he's pretty much the same. We'll do the Phoenix Lord as well. He is pretty much standard for a Phoenix Lord. Really high weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength 4, toughness 4, initiative 7, a number of attacks. He's got his own special weaponry, the Spear of Twilight. The Spear of Starlight, I should say, which is basically like the plasma. Sorry, I'm looking through here because there's so much stuff. Much like their Prism Blaster, but more powerful, does the same thing. He also has Ghost Light, a Jetpack, the Hollow Suit. He has Relentless. I think they actually all have Relentless, so they can always moving and shooting with their weapons. Um, yeah, they all have acute senses, Deep Strike, Relentless, because their weapons are pretty powerful. They're all heavy. They can be fired as a focus beam or a blast, just devastating stuff. Irlith, again, he's a Phoenix Lord. So he's got Fleet of Foot, Fearless, Eternal Warrior. He's got the same moves as them, these Sino kind, I don't know. And Withdraw, he also has, his own special Spear of Starlight, which is heavy 3 at strength 7, AP 2. So he's putting down lots of heavy armor stuff. And if you combine him with his squad and have enough members, you can put down pretty much any tank you want. At any range you want. He's devastatingly nasty. But yeah, he's just a nasty guy. You don't want to fight this guy, especially if you're armor heavy. He will rip you apart. But yeah, so that was my look at the Shadow Specters. Again, they're kind of one of those things, along with the whole series here, that you don't see a lot of. Most likely because it's Forge World. They're very specific in what they do. I have seen other things from the book. I've seen people playing with Corsairs, other things like the Hornets and Wasps from this, but I don't see a lot of these guys. And they're really cool. I would like to see more of them. So hopefully this has inspired you. That's kind of the whole point of this, is inspire you to check out those units you don't see very often, to do different things with your army. Maybe pick up one of those things. I mean, to date now, we've looked at the Tyrannic War Veterans. We've looked at the Ratlings from the Astra Militarum, or Imperial Guard, however you want to call them. And now the Shadow Specters. So, as usual, guys, if you like what you saw, hit the like button. Share it with family, share it with friends, share it with whoever you want. Please subscribe. There's always more content coming. And as usual, guys, until the next video, keep rolling those dice, and we will see you later.